You strong.
Yoojin suggests that he'll look at all his brother's skills when they return. Getting to spend more time with his brother, Yoon immediately agrees. Yerim then asks Yoojin to look at her skills as well. They finally exited the dungeon and people asked if they were okay. When the dungeon's rank changed, they all got worried. Yoon explains the situation with Yerim by his side. Yoojin decides to keep his distance from his brother when they're in public and decides that he'll return the gear he borrowed and go home without attracting anyone. But what Yoojin was thinking is already impossible, because Sunghin is now running towards him. There goes the plan to stay invisible. Sunghin screams Yoojin's name, his face mixed with anxiety. He skids to a bow, asking if Yoojin is okay and how he should have gone together with him. Yoojin is taken aback by this display of loyalty from Sunghin. However, he still manages to reassure Sunghin that he is okay, and everyone's attention is now on them. Sunghin tells Yoojin to climb his back, and they'll go home to have Yoojin rest. Yoojin profusely refuses, saying he's fine. Behind Yoojin, Myungwoo watches this unfold. But then, he looked down as he was thinking of something. Back in the guild, Yoojin visits Yoon with some snacks and expensive liquor. Yoojin hears the water running from the bathroom and surmises that Yoon is taking a bath. While waiting, Yoojin decides to visit and play with Peace. Yoojin opens his arms and Peace excitedly jumps to him, hitting Yoojin's stomach hard. He played tug of death with Peace, while saying I love you to the magic beast. He also feeds Peace the luxury magic beast food with a pale face, saying I love you once more. Yes, it's the $8,000 meal, so ensure the keywords work. Yoojin lies on the ground with Peace on top of him, hoping he somehow influenced Peace with everything they did. He smiles as he contemplates how he almost died that day and how the system is acting weird with its typo and chat. The appearance of a high-ranking monster that was supposed to happen years from now is what Yoojin found most baffling. Yoojin sadly sits up, unsettled about how this might affect his turning back time. He broods over what happened, but then concludes that it is none of his concern, since the system didn't make any proper explanations. Yoojin starts complaining about the skill descriptions, grumbling about how he wouldn't have chosen such a keyword if it had been adequately explained. I guess he forgot that it was automatically set when he awakened for the second time. Yoojin clicks his L rank skill, my kid is the best, and a book suddenly appears. Yoojin gets confused with the new status window. In a different realm, various beings discuss if their intentions manage to get through. They cannot intervene long since they force their way through the path. Though it would have been best to explain everything, they have to make do by adding something that would make it easy to understand. They refer to the update on Yoojin's my kid is the best skill. Yoojin looks at the book, where there are pictures of Yoon and Yerim, listed under influenced subjects with a mark of S on top of it. Yoojin realizes that it's a rule book, though with its kitty art. It looks like a kindergartner made it instead of a teacher. The system designer must be a kid. Yoojin speculates on the system designer's intentions. He notices that the list only includes the S ranks under his influence, and Myungwoo or Sunghan are not included. In the bottom part, Yoojin finds the number 50 with a good luck message. Yoon enters the terrarium room, apologizing to his brother for taking too long in the bath. He notices Yoojin's pale face and asks about it. Yoojin can only look at his brother as his mind surmises that the system is telling him to tame 50 S-rankers. The system just issued him a quest in the form of a roll book. The Fang Mole is released and immediately runs forward to attack Peace. Peace easily defeats it with a single slash. Yoojin is recording and narrating the progress of the infant horned flame lion, with an application of a magic beast taming skill. He also mentions Peace's current size and weight and how it has grown twice the size in just 2 days. Our Peace is growing up well. Amazed by Peace's fast growth, Yoojin compliments Peace. The magic beast lunges at him, but he isn't hurt like before. Yoojin made sure to borrow some gear to raise his stamina and strength. The night before, Yoojin discusses with Yoon how he got a new skill from leveling up to level 10. He says the skill is called Magic Beast Tamer. Yoon asks what the skill does, and Yoojin thinks he can't really say that. He can influence everyone and everything. You can't. You'll get imprisoned if you do. Yoojin makes light of it, explaining that it is a taming skill to help him level up monsters. He says he can train top-tier creatures because it's an S-rank skill. Hearing that it is an S-rank skill shocks Yoon, to the point that he grabs a rope. He lectures his young that having a unique S-rank skill is dangerous for an F-ranker, specifically Yoojin. Oh, Yoon's overprotectiveness is oozing out again. Yoojin gets defensive and yells at his brother to not lock him up. It's now Yoojin's turn to lecture Yoon. He tells his brother they should exploit this skill instead of hiding it. He portrays a picture of Peace becoming Yoon's mount and how many other S-rankers could use a mount that he can tame. This will change how hunters traverse massive dungeons and how dungeon raids are conducted. Back to the present, Yoojin is relieved to already have Peace under his influence. He plays and trains with the magic beast, as he thinks taming monsters is way better than influencing people to fill up the 50 S-rankers list that the system requires of him. Yoojin is already exhausted, while Peace cutely presses Yoojin to have him play with him more. Yoojin is already crying tears, thinking how hard it is to make a fortune. That's real life talking. He collects himself by thinking about how his actions can contribute to dungeon raids, reduce dungeon breaks, and make the world safe. Yoojin rolls around as his conscience takes over his actions. Someone called to him while he was still on the floor. It was the director. Shimyang Siak compliments Yoojin for his diligence in training right after he got out of the dungeon. He is also impressed by how much the horned flame lion has grown in a short period after Yoojin applied his new taming skill to it. Shimyang can accuse Yoojin of nepotism now. Shimyang sadly bows before Yoojin and compliments him more. Yoojin is appalled by Shimyang's action, but Shimyang apologizes to Yoojin for being rude. He then went on about how Yoojin showed his insight, analysis, and new skill. Shimyang unexpectedly grabs onto Yoojin's waist and implores Yoojin to join their guild. Shimyang has adopted Myungwoo's bad clinging habit. I think this is a calculated move in hopes that Yoojin will find it in his heart to give in. Yoojin managed to loosen Shimyang's hold on him, but Shimyang kept holding on Yoojin's leg. Yoojin flails around to loose Shimyang while saying a firm no. Peace looks at the two, thinking they're just playing a human version of Tug of Death. Our Peace is so cute. Yoojin tries hard to lose Shimyang. He knows Shimyang is wrong about him, since he already saw the future. He also thinks about how he hated Shimyang in the past. Shimyang tells him to reconsider, offering to provide the monster cubs and shoulder the cost of feeding and taming the magic beasts. All Yoojin has to do is tell them what he needs. Yoojin considers and remembers how Shimyang doesn't know Yoojin as the loser he was in his past life. Yoojin can be regarded as a boss right now, and Yoojin smugly tells Shimyang to get lost. Before, it was Yoojin doing the pleading. Now, it's Shimyang doing it. With his nose up in the air, Yoojin informs Shimyang that Yoon has already promised that he'll cover the expenses. Good job, lil bro. But he also admits that the free room and board is tempting. Latching onto straws, Shimyang immediately offers to sign a contract with Yoojin. He was interrupted by Yoojin, saying that while he will sign a contract, it'll be a contract of employment instead of signing as a hunter. Yoojin shares his plan to remain unaffiliated as a hunter, to raise more magic beasts for other guilds and make money out of it. He says this while bringing Peace up into the air, twirling around. Shimyang asks Yoojin to reconsider, but Yoojin says it's not his problem. Heian Guild is not even the strongest guild, so considering an exclusive deal with Heian is not something he would even consider. Scratching his ear, Yoojin tells Shimyang he knows how coveted his skill is since this could multiply the efficiency of dungeon raids. He compares himself to a goose that lays golden eggs and explains that other guilds won't sit back if Heian monopolizes someone like him. That would put his adored brother in danger. Yoojin is aware of the jerks who prefer trampling on the things they can't have, rather than watching others have what they don't. He also mentions that there are already people who readily poison others, and if that happens to an F-ranker like him, he'll be dead in no time. With this logic, Yoojin says it's better to be independent in exchange for raising a magic beast for each guild. They need to guarantee his safety. Of course, there'll be extra fees. Now that Yoojin is already raising Peace, Heian Guild has the first dibs. He'd instead be employed, have the guild's backing, and have his brother's guild manage the details with the other guilds for him. Yoojin also reminds Shimyang that he needs a monthly salary, incentive pay, and medical perks as well. Shimyang was left agape at first, but then he laughed since Yoojin had everything already figured out without any of his urgings. Shimyang agrees with Yoojin's terms and asks if he could take the training video to negotiate with the other guilds. Yoojin gives his consent on this matter. Shimyang takes the camera and asks Yoojin one more question. He wants to know if Yoojin will sign as a hunter with Heian Guild, if it rises as the top guild in the country. Yoojin looks down, thinks of it, then asks Shimeon if he is recording it. Shimeon turns his head, a bit frustrated about getting caught. You can't fool Yoojin. He has too many life experiences that brought him down before. Shimeon turns to leave, but Yoojin asks him what good it would be if Yoojin signs with them as a hunter. Heian is already benefiting from his skill, and there's nothing more to be gained from him. Yoojin smiles as he tells Shimeon not to regret his decision. Left alone in the training room, Yoojin plays with Peace, happily claiming he is now getting paid monthly with his health insurance covered. He was so glad that he managed to get Shimeon flustered. Shimeon walks away, surprised at how Yoojin has no self-awareness of how much he is worth. Shimeon is continuously getting surprised by Yoojin. Shimeon is aware of how hunters with unique skills get drunk on power. But Yoojin is different. Yoojin can be arrogant, but he knows where he stands and how to negotiate a deal to his advantage. You can't compare our MC to those people. Yoojin is an MC for a reason. Shimeon contemplates how he didn't recognize this talent before. He wonders if it was because Yoojin was overshadowed by his brother's accomplishments. Nope, Yoojin just did an excellent job of trying to place the attention on him instead of his brother. Shimeon thinks about how the Heian Guild is prepared to bear the risk of recruiting Yoojin. But with Yoojin deciding to go freelance, everyone will focus on him instead of the Heian Guild. This means he'll be the sole bearer of not only the benefits, but also the dangers that comes with it. Shimeon questions Yoojin's understanding of the consequences, which may also be Yoojin's way of protecting his younger brother. Whatever the case may be, Shimeon is sure of one thing: the Great Three Guilds, and the world will soon focus on Yoojin Han. Shimeon is sure that Yoojin will quickly find out how precious he is. This guy sure thinks a lot. Different people have already received a copy of Peace's training video in other places. Are they the guild masters from the Great Three Guilds Shimeon was thinking about? And one particular blonde guy found this interesting, that he intends to visit Heian at the earliest possible schedule. Yoojin and Peace are looking at Peace's new home. Peace prowls around, and Yoojin asks if he likes it. Now that Peace lives with him in the dorm, he wants to ensure it's convenient. He says they could move out when the space becomes small for Peace. It'll make you even worry if you move out of the dorms. Yerim sadly appears, asking about the cute little furry, while Myung-woo looks from the back, asking if it's a monster. Yerim was so enamored with Peace, thinking that it was a cat, but it is different for Myung-woo. He's afraid, since it is also trying to bite him. Yoojin scolds Peace, saying that Myung-woo is not food. Yoojin arrives at this scene, asking to spare a few minutes of his brother's time. Yoojin asks what it is, and Yoojin informs him that the other guild masters are coming to Heian to meet him. Our MC caught their attention. Now it's time to make money out of it. Yoojin tells his young that he can turn them down because he doesn't owe them anything. Yoojin says he can't do that. Yoojin reminds Yoojin that those guild masters are all S rankers, and as an F ranker, Yoojin can't take them lightly. Yoojin says Yoojin has a point. Hearing this, Yoojin quickly decides to turn everyone down. But Yoojin stops him and reminds Yoojin that he's also a guild master and should act appropriately in his role. Your real intentions are appearing low, bro. Yoojin enlightens his brother that the three great guilds masters are coming to Heian instead of the other way around. Heian obviously holds more power in this scene, enough reason to meet with them. For Yoojin, showing up to this meeting is no big deal. And he tells Yoojin that he doesn't want to hear any more but or even so. Yoojin reminds Yoojin that if they choose to negotiate, those guild masters would want to see it for themselves. Yoojin and Yoojin arrive in a conference room filled with people. It's showtime. The severe ambience of the room intimidated Yoojin. Still, he didn't pay much attention to it because his fear resistance was activated. Peace looks at Yoojin, while Yoojin introduces his brother to everyone in the room. A person comes close and asks for Yoojin's hand. The man explains that he'll be appraising Yoojin's skills prior to the negotiation. Yoojin reaches his hand out, but then realizes what an appraisal really means. He swats the hand away, saying something ambiguous about carelessly holding a young man's hand. Yoojin imagines how everything will turn out once people learn of his legendary and S-rank skills. Once they discover that, he has skills that can influence instead of monster taming. All he has been trying to avoid will definitely happen. He can easily see himself getting locked up by his brother and Sunhan. Why is Sunhan? Never mind. The appraiser tells Yoojin that it'll only take a second, but Yoojin doesn't want it. Sensing Yoojin's distress, Peace leaps toward the appraiser, keeping Yoojin behind him. Yoojin was surprised and he tried to calm Peace down. assuring the magic beast that the man was not a bad person. That's right, you can't mess with Yoojin with peace around. The people around them start to murmur. The chairman of the Hunters Association ponders if the magic beast detected that skill would be used on its master. Sitting next to the chairman is the guild master Hanshin Guild, Mingyu Park. He comments on how incredible it is that an infant is only at C rank, as he imagines the rank when it grows. A woman with long hair speaks up, saying that the magic beast is protective of its master, and by the looks of it, they wouldn't need to appraise Yoojin's skill. She then asks for confirmation from Yoojin, calling him Mr. Magic Beast Tamer. The woman is none other than Hyunamoon, the guild master of Breaker Guild. She gives Yoojin a seat and comments on how the young master of Heian has a reliable older brother. Yoojin looks at the Breaker Guild master, wondering if Yurim will outgrow him someday. Those are weird thoughts, Yoojin. Hyuna says she heard a full-grown horned flame lion is comparable to an S-rank dungeon boss. She then looks at Yoon and tells him to give it to her guild if he finds another cub. Yoon looks up from what he's reading and replies that it's not for free and they could trade if the one they're giving has frost resistance. Hyuna surmises that what Yoon wants is a mount for Yurim and reminds him not to be greedy. Sequan Choi, the guild master of the MKC Guild, complains about how the Heian Guild has already bought the high-tier infant magic beasts off the market. He says exchanging is out of the question when it's already hogged by Heian. Oh, so Yoon's guild is already buying magic beasts for his brother. Big brain move. Yoon smiles, saying that it can be exchanged for dungeons in this case. Sequan becomes more angry with this answer because Yoon is basically saying that they should listen to Heian's demands if they want mounts. He accuses Yoojin's freelancer status as a scheme by Heian. Yoojin can't keep quiet when he hears this accusation against his brother. He stands up and says that his relationship with Heian is a partnership. He's receiving help through them, making this meeting even possible. Yoojin uses logic, asking why he would even offer his services if he's only going to side with his brother. Yoojin tells everyone that there's a limit to how many monsters he can tame. He pokes Peace's cheek as he speaks. Yoojin says everyone in that room is getting the first dibs on getting a top-tier amount than any other guild in the world. With Peace on his shoulders, Yoojin smiles and says this is enough perk for this negotiation. Yoojin can also be cool like his brother. Sequan plops to his seat with nothing to rebut. While Yoojin looks at Sequan, Hyuna chooses this moment to poke Yoojin on the cheek. She compliments Yoojin for having the ability to tame more than monsters. Hyuna finds Yoojin appealing, since Yoojin has a little brother who is a guild master, a ward who is a super rookie, and a magic beast for a pet. She asks if they all come in a package and proposes to have him join the Breaker Guild. Peace stares at Hyuna with leering eyes. I imagine this is what the others would look like under Yoojin's influence if they also heard this. Yoon hears this as well, and he starts blazing in black flames. Oh. Yoojin notices this and immediately answers that he is not going anywhere. All he offers is his services. Hyuna asks if he's really not for sale, not even his little brother. Yoojin thinks that Hyuna is a real beauty up close, but he stops himself by thinking that his brother shouldn't burn down the conference room with his flames. Trying to stop these questions, Yoojin says that the only exception is if his brother's guild becomes the best in the country. Yoon is really getting preferential treatment. The blonde guy with a handsome profile smiles at these words and asks Yoojin if the Sijiang Guild could buy him right now. The man is Hyunji Sung, the guild master of Sijiang Guild, the most powerful guild at that time. Yoojin could not react, but knew his safety would be guaranteed if he joined Sijiang. Yoojin wonders why Hyunji joined so late in the conversation, making the atmosphere hostile. The other guild masters looked at Hyunjae with wary eyes, but Hyunjae only kept smiling. Yoojin wouldn't even be able to accept Hyunji's with the way things are. He just says it's only exclusive to his brother to calm things down. The guild masters paused at this, and the atmosphere completely changed. Hyunjae smiles, while Sequan sighs. Yoon is very happy that his brother is confident in Yoon's ability to make it happen. Hyuna laughs loudly and smacks Yoojin in the back, saying that Yoojin would rather die unaffiliated. She doesn't believe that Heian will become number one someday. She slaps Yoojin on the back, saying he is stubborn like his brother. Yoojin now feels the pressure and is glad he has the fear resistance, but he can't help comparing himself to a shrimp surrounded by whales. Yoojin has heard how S-rankers are insane due to the life or death situations they've gone through, but to feel intimidation behind their smile is a whole different experience. Yoojin is worried that his brother has been bullied all this time by these other guilds, and listening firsthand to how they treat him like a kid makes Yoojin distressed. You can't do that to Yoojin's brother. Mingyu decides to speak up about how Yoojin started his own guild without knowing his place. Now he knows that Yoojin got the traits from his older brother. Then Mingyu changes his mind, saying that Yoojin is actually milder compared to Yoojin. Yoojin turns his head with a smile, asking what's wrong with his brother. Yoojin shares how Yoojin is a lot nicer than he is, and how out of everyone in that room, Yoojin is the most compliant. This statement got the whole conference quiet. The Hunters Association chairman and the 4 other S-rank guild masters started sweating and murmuring with disbelief. They asked Yoojin if he meant his words. Yoojin became confused by their reaction and seriously wondered if anything was wrong with what he said. Why are they all so shocked? Yoojin is really polite and good dough. Yoojin recalls how Yoojin was still small and sweet as a baby brother. Back then, Yoojin would run up to Yoojin and hug him tight. Yoojin even takes care of Yoojin even though he is the younger brother. Yoojin is the type who always has a ready smile for his older brother. He loves Yoojin to the point that he even tells him that he'll go to med school so that Yoojin wouldn't have to work for another day in his life. Now, I really want Yoojin to be my brother. Yoojin shares with everyone in the conference room that regardless of how busy he is, Yoojin managed to grow up as a kind, upstanding, and gentle young man. Yoojin is the perfect definition of a docile sibling that anyone would want. Ming bams his fist to the table, and everyone tries to hold on to their laughter. They could not do so, and they all laughed at how ridiculous those words were from Yoojin. Yoojin was confused and asked if he had said something wrong. A guildmaster comments how Yoojin is acting polite today, and it's all because of his Hyun's presence in the meeting. Yoojin sees that the guildmaster of Sejong Guild, Hyunjae, is starting to crack up, which is different from how Yoojin perceived him as someone all serious. So what if Yoojin is only good in front of his brother? This only shows how much affection he has for his Hyun. Hyuna points at Yoojin and cackles, as she tells everyone how Yoojin is acting all coy in front of his brother. This pisses Yoojin a bit. He tells her off and argues they can't bully his younger brother. This only makes Hyuna laugh some more. Even the chairman of the Hunters Association is amazed at how close the two are. At the same time, Mingyu is still laughing so hard, and comments on how the chairman still has tears from laughing too hard. They are really enjoying this. Hyuna tries to smooth things over and hands Yoojin a document so that they can finish the deal. Yoojin was still irritated, but he kept his thoughts to himself. He knows that his brother is a wonderful young man, even though Yoojin can't be nice all the time since he has been a guild master from a young age. This is precisely why your little bro loves you, because you are so understanding and love him unconditionally. Hyuna continues with the meeting, explaining how they had settled most things between the guilds before Yoojin and Yoojin even arrived. She tells Yoojin to look at the document to let them know if he needs anything else. Yoojin looks at the documents and asks about the statement about him owning a building. Hyuna asks if Shimyang didn't tell Yoojin about it. The chairman explains that Yoojin will require a facility to breed the creatures, so they decided to have a new building for that purpose, with Yoojin as its owner. Hearing about it, Yoojin was deeply thankful for having Shimyang negotiate this for him. Shimyang is the definition of a great ally. At its essence, the agreement states the 5 guilds present will ensure the security of Yoojin Han and his building. Yoojin will prioritize breeding creatures for the 5 guilds. The construction of the facility is a joint venture funded by 4 of the 5 guilds other than Han, and the building will be under the ownership of Yoojin Han. That is one fantastic deal. Maybe I should sign up to become Yoojin's PA or something. Yoojin tells his brother they only need Yoojin's signature as he hands him a document. Yoojin can't help himself from smiling, but he still tries to suppress it. Yoojin was confused by the look on his brother's face, and Yoojin said it was the nerves, while thinking how blessed he was to have a building in the heart of Seoul. Things are really looking up for Yoojin. Yoojin still thinks he is a shrimp amongst whales, but he is one happy shrimp who can handle that pressure. To have him in his own building protected by the top 5 guilds in the country is a big win. Yoojin is already planning to have Myung-woo and Dr. Siak join him in the building by setting up a workshop and office. Yoojin imagines how he'll be interviewed as the guy who turns Zero into a rich and handsome hero. While raising a glass of wine, he'll claim that there's no secret, since he just happened to drive the best customers in the world. And, of course, peace would be there around his neck, making Yoojin look cool. He really likes to daydream. In real life, peace is licking Yoojin's raised hand, as he imagines how he wouldn't have to work for another day in his life. If Yoojin could lease the building, he'll be set for life. Hyuna pats Yoojin out of his imagination. She bids her farewell to Yoojin and thanks him for the laugh. Yoojin was still out of it, and he unknowingly told Hyuna it was his pleasure. Yeah, he forgot that the laughter was about Yoojin. Hyunjae chuckles and says he'll keep the promise of Yoojin's exception in mind and see Yoojin around. Yoojin was uncertain, but he still said okay. Hyunjae was referring to how Yoojin said he would join his brother's guild if Haein became the best in the country, but the condition for the other top guilds of Korea is to become the best in the world. Yoojin goes to Yoojin, and Yoojin apologizes for spacing out at the end. Yoojin avoids eye contact, saying his young shouldn't pay attention to what the other guilds say about him. He defends himself, saying he hasn't done anything that would sit well with his conscience. Yoojin pats Yoojin on the back, reassuring him that he knows how Yoojin has to get his hands dirty sometimes as a guildmaster. As I said, Yoojin is understanding. Yoojin then compliments Peace for being good and calm in his arms, making Peace purr. Yoojin thinks about how everything went well and how life is so beautiful at that moment. Back at the dorms, a wide spread of delicious-looking food is served. Yoojin asks if it is someone's birthday, but Myung-woo says he wants to feed Yoojin well. Yoojin thanks Myung-woo for the food, and he is happy that the food is as delicious as how his life will be in the future. He really is set for life. He even gets to enjoy delicious food every day. Yoojin eats and asks if Myung-woo has a lot of stuff in the dorms. Myung-woo says he does and asks why Yoojin is asking. Yoojin says that Myung-woo should be prepared to pack up and leave soon. Myung-woo was shocked by Yoojin's words, and he started breaking down before Yoojin even managed to explain why. Like a woman who has been sadly rejected, Myung-woo drops to the floor. Myung-woo cries his heart out and claims that Yoojin is finally kicking him out, making Yoojin spit some of his food out of shock. Yoojin stands up and asks what Myung-woo means by that. Myung-woo says he knew how this would happen someday because he is only a useless F-ranker. Yoojin tells Myung-woo not to say such things since Yoojin himself is an F-ranker. Myung-woo answers that though they are of the same rank, Yoojin is nothing the same. Myung-woo recalls how Yoojin was brave and genius, and for a guy like him who didn't even get a level 10 skill, Myung-woo keeps on crying. Myung-woo really shouldn't compare himself to others. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. In Myung-woo's case, his strength hasn't manifested yet. Yoojin tries to cheer Myung-woo, but Myung-woo claims he's a lost cause. He says that Yoojin is correct. It is time for him to leave. And then he thanks Yoojin for everything. These words make Yoojin panic, and he grabs Myung-woo's clothes. Keep him there, Yoojin. Even if you must destroy his clothes. Yoojin asks where Myung-woo will go, while Myung-woo says he can't waste any more of Yoojin's precious time on him. Yoojin yells that it's not a waste of time. He thinks about how Myung-woo has to sharpen 10,000 blades to gain the SS rank skill, and how Myung-woo is vital for Yoojin's plan to retire young and rich. Yoojin knew that Myung-woo wouldn't believe him if he said those words, and he couldn't reveal his skill's secret. Yoojin changes tactics, saying he can't force Myung-woo to stay against his will. Yoojin expresses how he has no idea that this is how Myung-woo feels. Myung-woo looks down and says it's okay. Yoojin says it was too bad because he just came across information that could help Myung-woo while looking disappointed. Yeah, Yoojin's acting again. Yoojin tells Myung-woo not to mind him, since he can't just damp the information on Myung-woo if he doesn't want it. This got Myung-woo all curious, and he asked Yoojin what it was. Yoojin continues to act like he is pondering, letting Myung-woo know that there's a secret that he wants to share with his buddy. Myung-woo doesn't wish Yoojin to be gloomy and asks about it. Way to guilt someone. Yoojin says he might as well say it before Myung-woo leaves. Yoojin makes up a story about how he heard from Dr. Siak that there's a training method to help unlock a particular skill. Yoojin thinks the best way to make someone believe you is to quote someone brilliant or famous. Yes, we're learning from you. Deep inside, Yoojin apologizes to Dr. White for using her name and swears he'll make up for it. In the dark R&D lab of Dr. Haeyan Siak, Haeyan is still working. She stretches, relieved that she's done with the paperwork, and all she has to do is wait for their response. Haeyan looks at her computer, unaware that something is lingering in the shadows. A shadow of a face with unkempt hair then appears. Is the genre turning to horror now? A couple of knives clatter as Yoojin announces, this is the perfect training for Myung-woo. He makes Myung-woo swear not to tell it to anyone, not even Dr. Siak. Myung-woo accepts the condition and asks Yoojin what he should do with all the kitchen knives. Yoojin simply says it's homework. And we learn another lesson from Yoojin on ensuring you won't get busted. Yoojin instructs Myung-woo to use his supporting skills related to weapons in sharpening the knives. Myung-woo affirms and starts sliding a knife into the grindstone. A counter appears, indicating how many blades were sharpened by Myung-woo. Yoojin explains how Myung-woo must repeatedly do the task to unlock the crafting skill and how it is a reliable source of income, making it an absolute gold mine. Myung-woo was shocked by this. Yoojin raises a hand beside his mouth, saying that Myung-woo has to grind about 10,000 to unlock it. Myung-woo was really glad to hear that it was only 10,000. Dude, what are you so happy about? It's 10,000? Myung-woo claims that if he sharpens 100 knives daily, he'll be done in 100 days. Yoojin was shocked and asked if that was what Myung-woo would only do all day. Myung-woo reassures Yoojin that he is excellent at repetitive menial tasks like this. Raising a knife, Myung-woo says that he'll soon show Yoojin. Myung-woo smiles and promises to work his butt off to pay Yoojin back for everything. You're a hard worker, Myung-woo. Yoojin is happy that he managed to secure one of his retirement plans. He thinks that now is the time to ensure the second one. Yoojin visits Hye-yan in her R&D lab inside the Haeim Guild. Dr. Siak shows her enthusiasm in conversing with Yoojin. At the same time, Yoojin is already tired of talking with the doctor for hours. Yoojin apparently forgot that Hye-yan mentioned how she wanted to speak with him for 10 hours. The two are talking about dungeons and how no one really considered if there were rules behind them. Yoojin explains that his theory is more of a hunch with no data to back it up, since there aren't a lot of dungeons in Korea. Dr. Siak agrees and covers her mouth, feeling that she has somehow offended many people by saying that. They carry on with a discussion on how they would get meaningful data if they could investigate more dungeons. This makes Dr. Siak wonder if she should join an international team. This is where the problem lies. Yoojin realizes that this is precisely why the genius Dr. Hye-yan Siak went overseas in the future. He reflects on how the doctor and her team will discover the principle of dungeon formations 3 years from now. This discovery will make America gain royalties from the world. Yoojin tries to devise a way to make Dr. Siak stay in the country until she makes the discovery. Holding a tray with jelly, Hye-yan says she has prepared exactly for this. Yoojin sees that it is a buckwheat jelly. Hye-yan explains how buckwheat jelly and rice wine can attract a dakhaebi, aka a Korean goblin, at night with a dark moon. Yoojin is confused and asks Dr. Siak about it. Is she trying to summon the goblin? Kim Shin? Shouldn't she blow a candle instead? Oh, sorry. I forgot that it only works for Euntak. Hye-yan talks about a famous hunter who teleports and dresses like a mischievous spirit from Korean folklore. This hunter is mysterious and has remained in the shadows, and no one really knows the gender or age of this hunter. People only knew that the dakhaebi's teleportation ability lets them teleport anywhere they want to save countless lives from dungeon breaks and disasters. This act makes the dakhaebi gain a reputation. At the same time, the dakhaebi's skill can be threatening to thugs who are up to no good. They can appear in their hideouts and subjugate every thug in a few moves and warn them. It is hard to catch them because of their teleportation skill and knows all kinds of secrets. This ability and knowledge ensure the dakhaebi's safety and freedom to travel anywhere while remaining independent. And we have another character with OP skills. Back to Hye-yan and Yoojin. Hye-yan even prepared some roasted buckwheat, and she figured that the dakhaebi was bound to know a lot about dungeons. She spreads the roasted buckwheat around and shares that she found a blog saying how dakhaebi loves buckwheat. This makes Yoojin question how reliable Dr. Siak's source is. I found a different source, and it says that dakhaebis love buckwheat jelly and like to play pranks. Hye-yan is so excited as she continues to spread roasted buckwheat, claiming she has a lot of questions for them. Yoojin tries to calm her down, saying that dakhaebi isn't an actual dakhaebi from the fairy tales, and suggests that the doctor should request help from the guild instead. Suddenly, the light in the lab turns off, making them question if it was a blackout or something. Yoojin opens his phone for light, and he sees that Dr. Siak is wholly rooted to the spot and starts to have a worried look on her face. She sees a bloodied masked figure with clawed hands standing right behind Yoojin. Yep, time to add the horror tag to this manhwa. Yoojin asks Dr. Siak what's wrong as the figure reaches a hand toward Yoojin. This makes Hye-yan scream so loud, while Yoojin looks back, only slightly shocked at the figure behind him. Hye-yan sadly faints, causing Yoojin to worry. Yoojin's fear resistance has been activated, and he relaxes as he thinks how ghosts don't exist and that what's before them is simply a show aiming to scare. With this thought process, Yoojin finally concludes who the culprit is. It was none other than dakhaebi. Fear resistance is really reliable to have. The lights in the lab turn back on, and Dakebi appears, saying there's no need to be salty. The Dakebi says he only swung by to make the lady's wish come true as he removed the scary mask. At this point of the story, we have no idea what Dakebi's gender is, so we'll refer to it as a male. Dakebi asks if it was too much, claiming that he didn't know the lady would faint from it. He tries to make up with Yoojin, referring to Yoojin as a gentle friend. Yoojin focuses on the system before him, letting him know that the Dakebi's name is Yoon, with B-rank stats for current and potential stats. Yoon has already unlocked some skills with one that is even S-rank. But this is not where Yoojin's focus lies. It is at the system notifying Yoojin that the target has not yet been influenced by the keywords. Realizing that a hunter who's free to roam around without being bound by any guild or country is precisely what Yoojin needs right now. Yoojin plans to influence Dakebi as well. Utilizing Dakebi's skills will significantly help Dr. Heian Siak with her dungeon research. Yoojin stands up as he concludes that this is the perfect chance. He smirks at him and claims that the Dakebi's pranks won't scare Yoojin, so he better drop it. Yoon is shocked by what Yoojin said and says he saw Yoojin trembling earlier. Yoojin makes an excuse, saying it was only because he didn't see him coming. Like a kid, Dakebi hops around, claiming that he did scare Yoojin and calls Yoojin some names like scaredy cat, chicken, coward, etc. The Dakebi is really childlike. Yoojin again says he wasn't scared and won't fall for such childish pranks, while Dakebi claims that those were classic moves. It won't work because our MC has a cheat in the form of fear resistance. Yoojin thinks about how the folklore says that the Dakebi loves to prank to the point that they would put their lives on the line just to do so. Knowing this, Yoojin proposes a wager to the Dakebi while thinking about how the Dakebi just met his match in Yoojin. It is a devious plan for sure. Dr. Heian Siak is lying on the bed and suddenly wakes up, remembering the Dakebi. Yoojin says that the Dakebi is already gone. Hien says the outfit was tacky, like it was something out of a coloring book. Seeing no response to his words, Yoojin reassures Dr. Siak that the Dakebi is gone. The Dakebi would have responded with its childlike personality if it had been there. Heian sighs with relief simultaneously. She is sad that she didn't get to ask her questions. She tells how she has hit a wall in her research and figures out how the Dakebi would be able to help her. Yoojin comforts Dr. Siak and says that he'll be able to help her with this. Hearing this excited Heian, thinking that Yoojin agreed to come with her to grad school. Yoojin calms her down and explains how he has a way to get more information that Dr. Siak needs. So what exactly happened before? Let's watch. The Dakebi expresses how much he loves a good wager and asks what the stakes are as he floats in the air in a lazy position. Yoojin proposes a wager of whether the Dakebi can scare Yoojin or not. If Yoon wins, Yoojin will serve the Dakebi for 3 years, and vice versa if Yoojin won't get scared. Wow, our MC is such a cheat. The Dakebi laughs at this and claims an F-ranker like Yoojin won't be able to win against an almighty Dakebi like him. The Dakebi then changes the stakes, saying that Yoojin has to serve 20 years to match the 3 years of the Dakebi. He says it's only fair, and this already accounts for the fact that Yoojin is the older brother of Heian's guildmaster. Yoojin surmises how the Dakebi did his research well and created a contract for them to sign. The Dakebi becomes suspicious of how Yoojin is rushing to a losing game and asks what Yoojin is scheming. He says how unlikely it is for an F-ranker like Yoojin to have a fancy skill and wonders if Yoojin plans to outsmart him with items. At least he is not that foolish in just signing a contract. The Dakebi doesn't know that Yoojin has the fear resistance skill, so as long as the Dakebi agrees, it's a sure win for Yoojin. Knowing there is doubt in the Dakebi, Yoojin chooses to improve his acting skills. He says that he is actually Yoon's biggest fan while blushing. Yoojin mentions how the Dakebi saved many people and finds the story of the Dakebi's pouch of secrets remarkable. Our MC is such an actor that he can even blush when necessary. Yoojin scratches his head, saying that it would be amazing to win against the Dakebi. But at the same, if he loses, he'll get to work for the great Dakebi. Yoojin says this with great enthusiasm. Yoon becomes proud and laughs at how awesome he's while twirling in the air. I take back my word, he's still foolish. The Dakebi claims that he would have never agreed if Yoojin begged to become his minion. Instead, Yoojin intrigued the Dakebi by bringing up a wager and a contract. Yoojin reminds the Dakebi that it doesn't mean that he doesn't have a fighting chance. Admiring Yoojin's spirit, the Dakebi finally agrees and says he'll try scaring Yoojin 3 times in the next week. And if Yoojin manages to stay calm in one of those 3 times, he'll make Yoojin his right-hand man. I guess there will be another horrific scene in the future. Back to the present. Yoojin can't say the exact details to Dr. Siak. Still, he will surely get the data necessary for the doctor to conduct her research without leaving the country. Yoojin admits he is not book smart like the doctor. He can only hope that they can share the profits equally. That is, if Dr. Siak's research on dungeon formations bears fruit from the data Yoojin provides. Yoojin is really working hard to secure his second retirement plan. This got the doctor thinking, and she says that she appreciates it. But at the same time, there is no guarantee that she'll find anything. Yoojin encourages Dr. Siak that she will be able to do so. This makes Haiyan blush, thinking that it's just flattery. Yoojin says he's serious and tries to remember what the date is. Yoojin then predicts the A-rank dungeon that will appear in Ichan. He starts betting that the dungeon will be full of slimes or a coastal setting. Haiyan is surprised by Yoojin's prediction and how he came up with it. Yoojin is making full use of his knowledge. Yoojin, of course, can't say he came back from the future. Instead, he asks Dr. Siak to seriously consider his offer if it turns out right. He says that it may be outrageous, but he is confident in the potential of Dr. Siak's research. Yoojin stands up and tells the doctor not to worry about the results. Instead, she should ask her uncle to bid for the management rights of that dungeon. Outside the room, Yoojin reassures himself that he never gave anything away and everything will be fine. All that's left to do is to humor the Dakebi for a week. One night, an old granny slams on a window, asking if Yoojin cares for an apple. Is she the witch from Snow White? Yoojin ignores the Dakebi. With Peace in his arms, he pouts and says how Peace only eats meat like the good kitty he is. This marks the first attempt as a failure. In one scene, Yoojin enters the house with a box while looking for Myung-woo. He says that he got more dull knives from a thrift store. Suddenly, dark clawed hands appear on the floor and grab Yoojin's leg. Yoojin falls with a thud, while the Dakebi comments on how Yoojin has a tasty leg. Instead of getting scared, Yoojin is angry at Dakebi and scolds him. He reminds him that the bet is to scare and not kill him. The Dakebi floats away, saying he never thought Yoojin would fall easily. Yoojin scolds the Dakebi more. He lectures how Dakebi shouldn't underestimate how weak F-rankers are. And this marks the second failed attempt. The skill is a big cheat. If it was me, I would have screamed my heart out. The Dakebi chooses a dark rainy night for his last attempt in scaring Yoojin. Yoojin yawns and decides to have some water as he opens the refrigerator. As he was about to drink, a big bloody straw doll floated in the air. Yoojin dryly says wow and comments on how the Dakebi put up much effort in his last attempt. Yoojin was about to say how it wouldn't scare him but stopped as he turned his head. He finds a horrifying form clinging to the ceiling with its clawed hands reaching out to him. Yoojin only comments that it's a combo attack. Yoojin's fear resistance has nullified the fear for Yoojin, and Yoojin says it was somewhat scary. But he couldn't complete his sentence because Yoojin bumped into something else. Is it a 3-hit combo? The figure has shoulder-length hair wearing white and on its hand is a knife. Yoojin wonders if it's another of the Dakebi's schemes, then the figure turns around. There was a flash of lightning, and the sky rumbled as it showed the pale figure of Myung-woo holding a knife. I guess not, but this is scary as well. The Dakebi was so shocked that he screamed how there's a real ghost. At the same time, Yoojin calmly greets Myung-woo. Myung-woo said he can't sleep, so he came out to sharpen more knives. Yoojin looks back at the Dakebi and says he shouldn't be a scaredy cat. The prankster ended up getting pranked. Myung-woo hears Yoojin's words and looks at the figure clinging to the corner ceiling. This scene scares Myung-woo into fainting. Wow, they really scared each other. Yoojin was worried for Myung-woo, while the Dakebi was confused about what had happened. And that ends the Dakebi's third and final attempt to scare Yoojin. The Dakebi lost to Yoojin. Our MC got himself a new subordinate. Still wearing a ghost mask, the Dakebi cries his loss and flails around. He complains about how he'll get an earful from his minions for signing a contract on a whim. I'll be your subordinate if it means I can scold you. The Dakebi continues to complain about how he'll be roasted alive. He yells that he won't go back and will just live there with Yoojin. I guess his minions are terrifying. The complaining makes Yoojin's ears bleed, and he tries to calm the Dakebi. He asks how old the Dakebi is. The other answers that he's over 100 while still crying. Yoojin tells Yoon to be serious. Yoon only replies how he really is a Dakebi. Yoojin says it's only an act, and there's no way for a real Dakebi to exist. The Dakebi makes his point by saying how dungeons and humans with superpowers exist, and how even Yoojin's brother can even breathe fire. That is quite logical. Yoojin starts saying that it's the system, then realizes that the Dakebi does have a good point. But seeing this system, he is sure that the Dakebi is also an awakened. Yoojin asks if the Dakebi is really not a human. With a sigh, the Dakebi calls Yoojin boss, and he starts to glow. He explains that he has existed for over a century. At the same time, he only turned 3 recently. That is kinda confusing. Yoojin reckons that the Dakebi refers to the time the system first appeared, meaning he was born then. The Dakebi confirms this. It is said in folklore that Dakebis are created objects with long existence that develop a soul of their own. In Yoon's case, he has been asleep for more than 100 years, and he only woke up when the energy of the dungeon flowed into him. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Yoojin guesses it was plausible since the Dakebi can teleport, which is somewhat similar to how the system connects their world to some alternate space, but to find an actual Dakebi is incredible. Yoojin deciphers the Dakebi's name, Yoon. The first name stands for the Chinese root character for wheel. Adding the information of how old the Dakebi is, Yoojin thinks that the Dakebi used to be a wheel of a watermill that belonged to a family called Yoon, hence the name Yoon. Yoon was so surprised and amazed at his new boss and asked if Yoojin was also a Dakebi and if he used to be a fortune teller's crystal ball. Yoojin said no and was amazed that he got it right himself, man of many skills and talents. Yoojin tells Yoon to just think that Yoojin is worthy of being his boss. Then Yoojin says he has a task for his humble servant, and Yoon makes a face at this. Yoon drops to the ground and complains that he'll never do boring errands. Yoojin explains that he needs Yoon to investigate the dungeons of other countries since other countries prohibit access to foreigners. But this will be easy for Yoon, who has stealth and teleportation skills. This is the real reason why they need Dakebi on their team. Yoon lazily lies on the floor and asks why they should do this. Yoojin smiles and says that Yoon will become a more incredible hero with this. Yoojin explains that gathering data on dungeons would help determine how they are created. This information would prevent more death and destruction from dungeon breaks, meaning it'll save the world. Yoojin says that this will make Yoon the heroic savior of the world. Not only will he be famous, people might also create a line of merchandise for the Dakebi. If their world was the old one, Yoojin would make lots of money if he worked in sales. Imagining Yoojin's description made Yoon smile with proud satisfaction. Yoon stands up and grabs the tablet from Yoojin with a smile. He starts checking the details on the tablet and asks if he really needs to go to other countries. Yoojin asks if Yoon can't just teleport, and Yoon explains he can't teleport that far. Yoojin remembers that Yoon has only unlocked the S-rank skill, Who Am I?, and the B-rank skill, Cloud Steps. With these thoughts, Yoojin makes a decision. He calls the Dakebi, and with a straight face, he says, "I love you." He's an opportunist, albeit a good one. Yoojin thinks he should help Yoon level up until he unlocks that skill. Yoon is startled at first, but then he yells at Yoojin. Yoojin makes an excuse for how Dakebis thrive on love, so Yoon should get used to loving. Yoon looks at Yoojin dubiously. With sparkling eyes and a flowery tone, Yoojin says they should start greeting each other like that. He says, "I love you, Yoon," and asks Yoon to do the same. Yoon is shaking as he tries to say it, but he is so hesitant that he says bye and poofs out of there. It's either Yoon is shy or traumatized by this display of affection. Yoojin was slightly disappointed but still looked forward to working with his beloved servant. It's another new day for our MC. The door opens, and Hye-yan and Shimyeon burst through it. The two were so happy as they claimed that Yoojin was right. Yoojin was wearing equipment and taking care of Peace at that time. But he was suddenly lifted up to the air by Shimyeon as he happily announced that it was indeed a slime dungeon. Yoojin was surprised by this, while Peace remained on the floor, shocked to find his owner taken away from him. Shimyeon continues, saying he had doubts, but they hit the jackpot with this dungeon. Peace became angry at them. Yoojin yells to be put down and tries to calm Peace simultaneously. "Don't anger our cute Peace." Shimyeon is so happy that the Haeim Guild has a new cash cow. Slime is considered to be a costly raw material. This means the guild wouldn't have to worry about budget anymore. Shimyeon and Hye-yan have incredibly happy, blushing faces as they look at Yoojin. They look like a fanboy and a fangirl meeting face-to-face with their idol. Shimyeon claims that Yoojin is a national treasure, making Yoojin feel a bit creeped out. Hye-yan says she has decided to accept Yoojin's offer and will try her best. Yoojin was glad to hear this. Then Shimyeon says he will place a tracker on Yoojin for safety, but Yoojin immediately rejects it. Shimyang's getting creepier by the second. Yoojin says he already has an overprotective brother to deal with. Pissed, Yoojin holds Peace out and commands to attack Shimyang, and Peace starts hissing at Shimyang. Our Peace is adorable even when he's hissing. Shimyang reasons they can't let a treasured asset like him be unprotected. Yoojin holds on and irked Peace as he tells Shimyang he's no prophet. He urges Shimyang to support Dr. Haeyam's research instead, which will help provide the predictive analysis of dungeons. Yoojin then runs off with Peace as he shouts that he's only a monster breeder. Yoojin thinks that he only wants a quiet, comfy life. He really is trying to make his promise from before come true. While his prediction may have been right this time, things could still change, and he doesn't want to be exposed as a liar. Shimyang and Haeyam look at Yoojin's disappearing figure. Haeyam then praises Yoojin for being a true scholar. At the same time, Shimyang says Yoojin is a humble man who cares more deeply about the guild than anyone. They are not only fooled but also letting the misunderstanding grow. A maze is showcased, and an announcer says the pet must escape this maze. It is complex for pets and filled with toys and mirrors that distract and confuse them. The host continues to explain that it would take at least 3 minutes for trained cats and dogs to escape it. Peace walks through the maze, and the host wonders how long it would take for a horned flame lion to escape. Oh, so the maze was for Peace. I was confused there for a second. Peace quickly makes his way out before the explanation of the challenge is even finished. Looking all cute, Peace jumps into Yoojin's arms, and Yoojin praises him. The host declares it's a new record, proving how these high-rank monsters are more intelligent. Everyone in the studio was amazed and found the whole experience so admirable, as they clapped their hands for both Peace and Yoojin. Yoojin says his thanks to everyone. So why the sudden TV appearance? Let's have a short flashback. Shimyang says that Yoojin should be on TV for the Hunter Files series. Yoojin was skeptical and asked why. Shimyang explains that it is to make Yoojin famous. He knows that it would be hard to hide Yoojin from the public, so it would be best to make Yoojin famous instead. By becoming famous, Yoojin's safety will be better ensured if everyone knows him. Now, let's go back to the present. Yoojin was persuaded by the logic of director Siak to appear in the show, and Yerim also accompanied him as a bodyguard. Yoojin really doesn't like it because it invokes terrible memories from his past life, and he wonders if people will talk trash again. He thinks these bad thoughts as he plays with the very lovable Peace. The people around him are smitten with how cute Peace is, and the host comments how they have never seen such a darling magic beast. The host is so happy that she says it's definitely the highlight of her career. Yoojin is glad of the compliment that he smirks. Yoojin finally admits this is the best decision ever as he plays with Peace in front of the cameras. I hope this helps him recover from his bad experience with Amiya before. They are finally taking a break, and Yoojin is satisfied with how things turned out since he could show off Peace to everyone. Knowing that everyone else also finds Peace cute, Yoojin thinks it's a crime not to share this cuteness overload. He remembers how some people there have suggested that Yoojin should start a social media account and upload Peace's pics. Peace would be an instant online sensation. Yoojin considers this and wonders if he should also sell some merch or even produce an album of Peace. He looks far into the future when Peace will be fully grown and become a world star. At that time, Yoojin will be its manager, and he'll be famous as a monster tamer. Maybe we should count how many times Yoojin daydreams in this manhwa. Yoojin relaxes in his chair and says people should fall in line to have Peace's autograph. A person with long hair says yes, and that she'll be the first in line. Yoojin looked at the person who just spoke, and it was Hyuna, the guild master of the Breaker Guild. Hyuna looks down at Yoojin and asks if the autograph will be a paw print. Paw print sounds like a great idea. Let's have it embedded in plaster or cement. Yoojin and Peace's eyes bulge with surprise at seeing Hyuna. Yoojin falls off his chair with a crash, and Hyuna greets him and asks how the young master Hayan is doing. Still shocked, Yoojin asks why Hyuna is there, while Peace hisses at her. Hyuna explains that having at least 3 A-rank hunters is required when shooting a show with monsters, so she volunteers to catch up with Yoojin simultaneously. It is obviously an excuse. Hyuna reaches out to help Yoojin while the people around them talk about Hyuna's appearance in the studio. Yoojin stands up on his own, thinking about how the spotlight was stolen from him. Hyuna is surprised that Yoojin didn't take her hand and asks if she should have swept him off his feet like a princess. Yoojin immediately rejects the idea and says they should avoid getting tangled in rumors. Hyuna pats Yoojin on the shoulder and says she doesn't care, since Yoojin will be her breeding partner. This makes the people around them gasp and murmur. Yoojin was horrified and yelled that those are the exact words they should not say in public. That term is definitely misleading. Hyuna pats Yoojin's shoulders with both hands, saying she really likes Yoojin, and again extends an invitation to have him work for her. Yoojin picked up peace and expressed his indignation, reminding her she could only make the offer if she became the world's best. This is one tall order for him to join a guild other than his brothers. Hyuna once again compliments how Yoojin never gets intimidated. Yoojin says is unthinkable, since he has a brother who is also an S rank and how they are all only human at the end of the day. Hyuna smiles at this and again holds onto Yoojin's shoulder, and Peace is alarmed by this. Hyuna says she appreciates the philosophy, but it concerns her a bit. Yerim runs towards them with drinks, but before she even gets near, a blast of wind is raised between them. Yerim tries to reach for Yoojin but is unable to do so. Hyuna looks at Yerim and says she'll only borrow Yoojin for 5 minutes. Yoojin is exasperated by this show of power, while Peace is shocked at what happened. Yoojin surmises that Hyuna has set up a barrier with the stagnant air. Peace becomes angry and growls at Hyuna. With an angry Peace in his arms, Yoojin asks Hyuna what she did. Hyuna smiles, saying she set up a sound barrier with a simple tweak of her skill, and tells him not to worry since her staff will explain things to Yerim. Yoojin wonders if it really was a simple tweak. He knows that Hyuna has already mastered her skills at this time, so a new S ranker like Yerim can't do anything against Hyuna. Hyuna says that they can finally talk in private. Yoojin asked what it was about while Peace was still irked in his lap. Hyuna says she just wants to be careful when talking trash about someone like Yoojin's little brother. Yes, she set up a barrier just to talk behind Yoojin. I think it's a waste of MP. This statement makes Yoojin pause. Hyuna says she's worried that Yoojin doesn't really know his own brother. She looks at Yoojin and comments that he is already agitated when she hasn't said anything yet. Yoojin glares at Hyuna, obvious that he doesn't want to hear any trash talk about his brother. Peace hisses at Hyuna, and Hyuna says to relax and she doesn't mean any harm. She's also smitten with Peace. Hyuna swears she's not there to drive a wedge between the brothers. Patting Yoojin's shoulder, she advises Yoojin to reevaluate his opinion of his beloved brother. She admits that they all laughed back in the conference because they thought the words from Yoojin's mouth were ridiculous. She says that Yoojin can't ignore this if he really wants to get into that kind of business. She asks if Yoojin really has a lot of faith in his brother and if the excellent baby brother really became a guild master simply because he was capable. Hyuna is skeptical at how an orphaned kid grows into a sweet young man because of a loving older brother despite the poverty and hardship. Hyuna says it's so unrealistic. It may seem unrealistic, but she really shouldn't butt in. Yoojin starts to talk back, but Hyuna says that Yoojin really thinks Yoojin is an angel. She asserts that there is something that Yoojin doesn't realize. Angels can't stomp on others to build their guild. She then asks Yoojin if he wants her to tell him what kind of life his brother led as a hunter. I think Hyuna will tell him whether he wants to hear it or not. Let's continue the story with a flashback from the Breaker Guild Master. Hyuna was a former athlete, ever since she awakened. She was disqualified from any competitive sports, hence she became a guild master instead. She doesn't know much about managing a guild, so the corporate sponsor ran it. And among the country's top 5 guilds, only 2 guild masters are truly in charge of their own guilds. These were Hyunji Sum of the Sejong Guild and Yoojin Han of the Haean Guild. Yoojin has rejected offers from big companies and has built an independent guild. He was viewed as a kid since he was only a high schooler then. At the same time, everyone's after Yoojin, and some of them even attempt to poison the young man. They're great examples of self-made men. Hyuna admits that she was naive back when she intervened when she heard about an attempt on Yoojin's life. Hyuna decides to go and save Yoojin since he's only a minor. But what welcomed her is far from what she expects. The whole place is burning. Dark remains are left on the ground. And Hyuna even thought there was a monster attack. She's really the type who worries about others. A man screams for mercy, and Hyuna turns her head. She finds Yoojin looming over a man. The man swears that he won't do it again and they will leave Yoojin alone. But Yoojin was having none of it. It was extermination. Hyuna walks to Yoojin and asks if he's okay. However, Yoojin is still wary of his surroundings that he attacks Hyuna. Hyuna manages to block it and says she was stupid for worrying when Yoojin obviously isn't an ordinary kid. Hyuna even thinks that Yoojin is not even human anymore because rage has filled Yoojin's complete being at that time. You really can't blame him, he almost died from poison. Hyuna says the incident was covered up and anyone involved disappeared. She finishes her story by saying that Yoojin took down those calling shots and took their resources. Those were then used to build the Haean Guild. Yoojin looks at Hyuna with shock, while Peace glares at the guildmaster. Hyuna says it may be hard to believe, but this is how the world of S-rankers works. Hyuna knows that Yoojin and Yoon used to live apart and asks if Yoojin didn't notice how his brother has changed. Yoojin only looks away at this. I think Yoojin is more sad that he wasn't there for his brother rather than being scared of what he learned. Hyuna once again pats Yoojin's shoulder and advises him to look at the matter with open eyes, because Yoon isn't who Yoojin thinks he is. From Hyuna's experience, Yoon is a monster. Yoon may only be pretending to be a docile little brother, and he might bare his fangs at Yoojin one day. She says it is unsafe for Yoojin to stay close to Yoon, as a phone vibrates in her pocket. Hyuna takes the phone from her pocket and looks at it. The name on the phone says Jerkwad number 2 is calling her. Hyuna says it is Yoon. I'm betting Jerkwad number 1 is Hyunjae. Hyuna looks at Yoojin and asks if he wants to keep his distance from his brother. If he does, she is willing to give Yoojin a hand. Yoojin mumbles how Yoon has gone through hell as well. Yoojin sadly grabs the phone in Hyuna's hand, shocking her. Yoojin answers the call, and Yoon immediately threatens Hyuna Moon, but stops when he hears his brother's voice. Yoon asks if Yoojin is okay, and if the woman told him anything stupid. Yoojin thinks that Yoon had to bloody his hands to get to where he is today. Then he answers his brother in an annoyed tone, saying how Hyuna was talking trash about Yoon. I admire their strong relationship. Yoojin doesn't really care if his brother has done those things before. Though Yoon is acting strange. Yoojin knows how cruel people can be. Yoojin himself doesn't have clean hands. He was guilty of surviving all those years while everyone around him died. Yoojin remembers how Yoon protected him in his past life. After experiencing that, there is no way Yoojin wouldn't defend his brother. Yoojin says that Hyuna has underestimated him. He casually talks to his brother about returning the favor by talking trash about Hyuna. He starts mentioning something that happened last year in April. Hyuna became horrified when she heard this from Yoojin. It was about the most embarrassing moment in Hyuna's life that would be revealed to the country in 4 years. An eye for an eye, Hyuna can't just bully the MC's lil bro without experiencing something bad in return. Yoojin continues that it was around 5 p.m. on April 2 at the CS convenience store in Icheon, Gyeonggi province. Before Yoojin can tell everything about it, Hyuna snatches the phone from him and crushes it with her bare hands. Now I'm curious about what really happened. Red in the face, Hyuna glares at Yoojin and asks how he knows about it. She starts shaking Yoojin, trying to make him talk. Peace is enraged at this, while Yoojin is calm and says he just heard it somewhere. Hyuna threatens Yoojin, making Peace hiss in anger, but still calm. Yoojin dares her and says she won't have any super special mount. Yoojin smirks at Hyuna and tells her she shouldn't have talked about his brother that way. He says this even though he is still in Hyuna's clutches. Hyuna is angered, but she knows that Yoojin has a point. I hope Yoon looks it up so we may also know the deets. She lets Yoojin go with a sigh and says that she should have realized how the apple really doesn't fall far from the tree. Yoojin thinks about how everyone will learn the truth anyway as he takes Peace from the ground. With a snap, Hyuna released the barrier, saying that she thought Yoojin would be different from Yoon. So she tried. She's at least relieved that there's nothing to worry about if the other guild masters approach Yoojin. Yoojin wonders if Hyuna is trying to warn him while Peace continues to leer at Hyuna. Yerim sadly yells and complains at Hyuna. Yoojin reassures Yerim that he's okay while Hyuna pats Yoojin's back, saying it was just adult talk. She whispers to Yoojin that he better not utter a word about that. Hyuna makes it sound different. Yerim sees this and headbutts Hyuna's stomach, thinking that Hyuna is threatening Yoojin. Everything else in the studio is as normal as the two S-rank bickers. A staff tells Yoojin that the shoot will resume in 5 minutes and hands him water. Yoojin looks at the two, wondering when they got so close, and if it is because they are the only female S-rank hunters in the country. Yoojin looks at the scene where Hyuna playfully grapples Yerim. Yoojin ponders if Yerim will go to the Breaker Guild once her contract with Heian ends. I doubt she will. She'll definitely be following you around.